market already starting
No
up?
inventory, but you know, it's the story of all of our lives, I think, right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think on one of the, was it the one that you and I co-hosted on Clubhouse, Barb, where somebody said that they have like 112 listings when they usually have 3,000.
Yeah.
That was a little scary. Yeah, I
We've
can't
got the
remember.
same thing here.
Yeah. What is your market overall inventory look like, Barb, down in Southern
We're
California?
less than 2 weeks. We're at like 1.7.
Weeks.
So, nothing.
Not months.
Weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks. So 10 days, 12 days. Yeah.
And
It's pretty
average amount of offers you're getting on it, things?
I would say 6 to 8.
Okay.
If it's a really hot property, then like 15. The highest I've had is 22.
How much over asking? What are your winning offers look like?
70 to 80,000.
Wow. So winning offers, from what I'm hearing from a lot of agents that we're interacting with and listening to from all over, are now like devoid completely of contingencies.
Yeah, unfortunately. But that's the one thing I disagree with. I won't let my client release their appraisal contingency unless they have an open checkbook. I just can't do it.
Yeah, that's a really hard one to do.
An inspection I won't really do unless they have a prior inspection report and it was from an inspector that I, maybe have a history with. It's tough. It's tough. I do believe there's more creative ways to get your offer accepted than putting your clients. And in California, I don't know if you guys are in Nebraska, but in California, we're fiduciaries. We have a fiduciary duty. Yeah. So I can't advise my client to do something that I don't feel is in their best interest.
Right.
So it's tough. And don't get me wrong, agents are doing it. And I tell my buyers when we meet with them on a buyer consultation, I say, listen, the number one way our clients are getting beat out is when other agents encourage their clients to release their appraisal contingency. And I'm okay if you get beat out for that because I won't let you do that. So we kind of go up front and tell them, like, if someone else wants to be stupid and do that, unless you have an unlimited checkbook or you're willing to put in California, our deposits are 20, 30 grand.
Yeah.
Are you willing to put that money on the line?
Right.
We're not talking a $5,000 deposit that's a little bit easier to walk away from, right?
Yeah, we've just gotten people up to where they will put up 1%.
Oh yeah, we're
our average sales price is a lot less.
Yeah, see, there's a huge difference there, and that's right. That's like a market to market thing. Our deposits are typically 3% of a $900,000 home.
Yeah. So, what's your best? Before we get started, tell me what's your best strategy for offsetting. We're going to do an inspection. Like what is your other best thing that you use?
What do you mean, to get an offer accepted?
Yeah, to get an offer accepted.
For me, it's all about the relationship with the agent. That's how I get them accepted. It's my relationships with the other agents.
Yeah.
They want to work with me. And so in California, our offers are not necessarily confidential. And so the listing agent does have permission from the seller to disclose terms of the offer. And when you have a good relationship with another agent, sometimes they'll tell you, hey, you got to be here to get this property. My client wants to work with you. I want to work with you. Can you go to X? And then we say, sure, let's do it. And then, we sometimes get information that I just don't think other agents know how to professionally procure.
Yes, right. So it all goes back to relationship.
Everything goes back to relationship.
Duh.
Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of, let's go ahead and get started. We've got 3 pages full of people, so I think we're at 55 people right now, and this is just going to keep on popping. So I want to introduce you all that don't know Barbara Betts. Barbara Betts and I have been friends for 15, I don't know how many years. We've traveled all over the world together, and she has figured out a way to relate the part of what she does really well, and not only give you the motivation to do it, but also give you steps to get there. And one of the best things I love about Barb is that she doesn't just throw out these things. She's there to catch any questions or concerns that you have. She's one of the most, I don't know how you do what you do, Barb.
I have
Because
ADD.
you're everywhere, and you also have run your successful business. So Barb's from Long Beach, California. You can tell whatever else you want about yourself, Barb, but Barb's going to talk to us today about the thing that we're focusing on this year, which is building inventory and listings. And I really want you to think from the mindset of many of you know that I say this all the time, the inch wide and the mile deep. The inch wide that we're going to concentrate on, not that we're not going to have other inch wides, is going to be increasing inventory and listings and having a dramatic effect on the marketplace, not only for our buyer inventory and our buyer sales, but through focusing on listings. So Barb, take it away. Thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you. And thank you guys for changing your time. I have a Pro Standards Code of Ethics training at 10 a.m. California time right after this. So thank you, Carol, for getting your people here at a different time than I know that you're used to. So thank you for that. I'm assuming we have till, when is our end time?
12.
12, which is
11.
10. Okay, I'm like, whoa, 12.
Yeah, no,
That's
11,
okay.
Not, what time is it there? 9.
Yeah, so 10. Yes.
Yeah, 10.
So an
Okay.
hour. Okay,
Sorry.
perfect. Well, 'cause I have to leave at like 9:58, so we're good.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me, Carol. Thank you for those very kind words. So nice to see some familiar faces, both from within your brokerage, because I've met some of you when I was in Omaha, gosh, 2 years ago now, very sad. And a couple other familiar faces from around the country. And I see a lot of names I recognize. So I'm happy that you're all here today. Carol did do a great job introducing me. I am from Long Beach, California. I always start out with, I am a practicing broker and realtor. So I'm in your shoes every day. I don't just speak and train. I don't just run a brokerage. I also go on listing appointments and buyer consultations and deal with negotiations and, have to lead generate every day. I'm still in your shoes. And I think that's what makes me attractive, or that's the feedback I get, is that you can really relate because you know that I'm living your life. And I think that's really special and unique. And I always will practice. I do believe that in my heart. I don't think I ever want to come out of production, because I do believe it gives you a different edge on what's going on in the market, right? We know the market's constantly changing. So what Carol asked me to come chat with you about today, and this definitely won't take me the whole hour to share with you. So I definitely encourage questions, and I like questions when they're verbal. So please don't be afraid to come on camera and show your face and ask a question. I definitely will keep I'll keep my chat open to keep an eye on any questions that might be coming in and try to answer them as I'm in the middle of that thought. But please, if you have questions, jot them down and ask me at the end. I'm a pretty much an open book. And even if it's something we didn't talk about today. So Carol asked me today to come talk to you about how to use social media to drive listing inventory, and kind of how I'm doing that in 2021. Because we all know we need listings, right? The saying, list to live. And right now, right, why wouldn't you want some listing inventory, right? They're selling so quickly, and you're getting a bunch of marketing exposure, and one day that'll flip and we'll all want, buyers, because listings will sit on the market forever, right? I always laugh when that happens, and I'm like, God, what I wouldn't die for. Right now I get a buyer and I'm like, oh my gosh. There'll come a time where we're going to feel that way about listings. So anyways, but right now we want to try to get as much listing inventory as possible. So first I want to start with kind of talking about social media in general, and why it works, right? We're definitely going to get into some tactics and strategies about how I think you can communicate and use the social platforms as a way to drive listing inventory. But first, I just want to talk about social media in general, because I know there's a lot of agents out there who have been told or believe themselves that social media is a waste of time, right? And I'm a firm believer that anything you do with passion and consistency will work over time, right? It's all about how you use it. Can we agree? Yes, social media can be an absolute waste of time if you're just on there scrolling. Or frankly, to be completely transparent, if you participate in the dumpster fire that social media can be, it absolutely will be a waste of time for you. But if you focus on it as a relationship building tool and a lead generation tool, you can absolutely make social media part of your business plan. Why? Because I know at your brokerage for a fact that you are all about relationships. I know that for a fact. I know that you wouldn't work for this company if you didn't care about working relationally. I also know that if you work at this brokerage and then you prove that you're not a relational type person, you're probably asked to leave. So all of you can use social media in a relational way. The reason social media works is it's because it's where your clients are, right? I wouldn't have necessarily said that 5 years ago, but I think in 2021, we can all agree that at least 90% of your database is somewhere on social media. Now, they may not be a super active user, and that's okay. Your job is to find the ones that are the active users and engage with them and deepen relationships. So I'm going to talk about the two main platforms that we all use most consistently, Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn, there's still a lot of opportunities over on LinkedIn, but I would say to you, LinkedIn is more of an opportunity to network with other realtors than to find potential buyers and sellers. Does that make sense? So if you're looking for a realtor database and you're looking for a way to connect with realtors in areas where, hey, I live in California. There is definitely a migration out of California right now. Now, funny enough, for every person that's leaving California, I've got 15 people lined up to buy their home. So we're not having a problem selling real estate in California, but a lot of my clients are moving out of California. So it is my job to build relationships with realtors outside of California, right? I specifically need realtors in Arizona, Nevada, Tennessee, Texas, and Colorado and Idaho, because those are the 6 top states where people from California are leaving to. Sorry, they're not coming to Nebraska. I don't know why, but they're not. So they might be, but very few. So that's what I would say about LinkedIn. So we're not going to really focus on LinkedIn today. But back to Facebook and Instagram, you've got to be there, friends. You've got to be there. So if you're not there, get there. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do before we can even talk about content is we need to make sure you're present and you're presented correctly on Facebook and Instagram. So on Facebook, I'm going to give you a very general of, my bullet points and thoughts on both platforms and a couple tips. I can't go into extreme detail on them because I have a whole social boot camp that is 5 weeks long that I can't, there's no way I could give all that content in the short time that we have today. So Facebook, number one question I get asked, do I need a business and personal profile? Now remember, use the correct language. Page on Facebook is your business page. Profile is you as a human. Okay. So you as a human, you as a business. Do you need both? Yes. Should you worry about engagement on both? No. Your Facebook business page, I want you to think as a stagnant web page. Information, content. Do you sell real estate? Are you active? But don't expect any engagement there. Don't waste time figuring out, why am I not getting engagement on my business page? Don't go ask every realtor in the freaking world to follow your business page. They don't want to, okay? Don't worry about it. But what you do need to worry about is if I am a consumer and I am not friends with Ann Meadows, and I look up Ann Meadows' business page on Facebook because I can see it, because you can't hide a business page from well, you can block people, but they're public. I want to go to Ann's page and say, does Ann sell real estate? Well, yeah, there's a bunch of listings here. Is Ann active in the community? Yeah, there's some pictures of her doing different things in the community. There's some articles about Denver. There's some articles about new subdivisions. There's some staging tips, right? Is Ann an active realtor? Yes, I can go to Ann's Facebook business page. And here's what I'm here to tell you. They're going to go to your Facebook business page before they're going to go to your website. I'm sorry. That's just what's happening in 2021. Okay. So when I go to Ann's business page, I can see she's an active realtor, and I might message her there if I don't know her personally, and Ann better respond to my message. So make sure your messenger notifications are turned on, because your potential clients are messaging you through Messenger. I don't know if you've noticed. Now, Ann's personal profile is where all of her engagement and relationship building and selling should be. And yes, I said selling. You can sell and promote your business on your personal profile. If anybody has told you otherwise, they don't know what they're talking about. Now, should you throw up real estate on your personal profile? No. Will you get shut down by Facebook if it's all real estate, all auto posting your listings, but nothing else? Yes. But will you get shut down by Facebook by occasionally talking about real estate, building relationships with your clients, sharing home buyer and home seller tips, talking about a new listing you have coming out in a great subdivision that's really hard to get into right now? No, I am living proof. I talk about real estate every day on my platforms. Okay. So that's the business page. That's the personal profile. That is Facebook. Instagram, do you need 2 accounts? The question I'm going to ask you is, do you manage other people? If you do not have a team or a brokerage, you do not need 2 accounts on Instagram. There is no such thing as a business Instagram account. There's different types of profiles, and I go into it in depth, and I can, if you message me, I can probably help you out which one you should have. But what I'm telling you is, if you don't have a team or a company, you don't need 2 Instagram profiles. Now, people tell me, but I want to have Krista Luther Instagram and Krista Luther Realtor. No, Krista Luther is a realtor all the time. Krista, I don't even know if you're a realtor or if you're just, joining as an admin, but I'm picking on you because I can see you next to me on the screen. So just so you know, I pick on people I can see. Krista needs just Krista. Krista is a realtor. She's also probably a mom, a wife, I don't know, a sister, an aunt, a friend. That's who Krista is. So Krista should be that way all the time on social media. But she needs 1 Instagram profile unless Krista has a team. And if Krista has a team, then Krista should also have the Luther team Instagram. And that Instagram is going to be about her team, not about Krista. Do you understand the difference? Okay. So that's my high level, where to be, what to do, and what kind of platforms you should be involved in. And if you don't have any of those right now today, then I want you to go set up accounts and I want you to start getting engaged and involved. Now, Barb, how do I find people? How do I get people to follow me? Well, guess what? Breaking news. Social media is all about engagement and relationships. You have to go follow your people. Go follow your people, and guess what? They'll follow you back. I promise it works. Yes, you should be friends with your clients on Facebook. Yes, you absolutely should be friends with your acquaintances on Facebook. Yes, you should be friends with anyone that you know and like. Okay, if you don't like them, don't be friends with them on Facebook. Okay, I'm not telling you to go friend request your entire community, right? But if you're friends with someone and you like them, yes, you should be friends with them on Facebook. And yes, you should be following them on Instagram. Now, here's my tip. When people are like, but I don't want to share my personal life with my clients, then don't share it. You are a realtor all the time. You don't get to take your realtor hat on and off. If you've noticed, it's why the code of ethics was just changed about hate speech.
Hi, Charles.
Because we
This
are a
is
realtor all the
James.
time.
How are you?
We are a realtor all the time.
I am well.
I'm not saying
Did you have a good holiday?
I'm going to give a chance for you guys to mute whoever's talking.
Some guy not mute.
Oh,
James,
good.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so am I saying that you should work 24/7? Please don't interpret me as saying that. But what I'm saying is you are a relationship builder and a realtor, right? If you go to a party Friday night at night, a Friday evening, well, we don't go to parties right now. Bad example, Barb, but let's just pretend this was 2019. And you go to a party Friday night with girlfriends. Are you all of a sudden taking your realtor hat off if someone asks you about real estate? No, right? So when people tell me I don't want to share my personal life with my clients, then don't share it, right? I want you to look at everything you post on Facebook and Instagram as an opportunity to build relationships, to tell people you're an amazing realtor, to remind them you're in business. And it's a great way to create buyers and sellers, okay? So let's move on to creating listing inventory, which is specifically what Carol asked me to chat with you about today. The number one thing that you can use social media for, and that you should be using social media for, is telling the story of the market, right? Let me start with the number one thing that frustrates me about realtors and social media is they think that it's all about their listings they already have. You know, those realtors that just post every single listing on their social media? They post every single link and they have it auto posted and it's coming from all different sites and websites, and they put up the same photos that you can find on the MLS. Have you ever noticed that? Breaking news, friends, the only person that cares about your listings are the people that are buying or selling them. No one else cares. How many of you serve a large geographic area? Right? I think you guys can drive far in Omaha with no traffic, so I'm sure you serve a large geographic area, right? I can only use Southern California as an example, but guess what? My clients in Mission Viejo don't care about my listing in Long Beach. They don't. So please don't think that you're going to drive listing inventory by spewing out all the listings you already have. Now, if you have a unique listing, or you're telling the story of the house, or you're showing off a really cool feature about the neighborhood or the community that someone can't find on the MLS, by all means, you should be showcasing that on your social media. Why? Because other people are going to see that and go, my realtor doesn't do that. Wow, that's really cool. Look at her showing off the community. Look at her showing off all the features of the community that you can't just grasp from looking at the MLS. Right? If I'm an out-of-state buyer looking at your listings, am I learning something about Omaha? Am I learning something about your community, about things that I can't see through the MLS? The best piece of advice I can give you about portraying listings online is don't give them the information that they are going to Redfin for. Okay, that's, if you all don't know that your clients are using Redfin to search for homes, they are. It's just a reality. Okay, they are. And they can see all the same photos on Redfin that you're now posting on your Facebook. You're not showing them anything new. You're not showing them anything different. So when you are marketing listings on social media, which I do believe you should because it's your job, you need to just think about it from a different perspective. Okay? Tell the story of the market. Sorry, I started with that and then I pivoted and forgot about the listings. Tell the story of the market. Are you sharing what's going on? Now, I'm not talking about just sharing stats that no one understands. I'm talking about, are you going on your social platforms and explaining what the heck inventory really is? Or are you just going on social media and saying, we have 1.7 weeks of inventory, because that's what I have in Long Beach. Do you know any average person that knows what that means? Did you know what that meant before you got into real estate? No, you didn't. So your clients don't either. So when I see these graphics of, average sales price, which is great, 1.7 weeks inventory, people are like, what does that mean? So tell the story of the market. And what do I mean by tell the story? You got to get on video. If you want to drive listing inventory in 2021, you have to get on video and you have to tell the story of the market. Don't let them read the headlines, right? You've got to tell the story of the market. Are you on social media communicating that you have buyers for listings that you can't get them into? Are you specifically calling out neighborhoods and communities? Because Facebook is an algorithm, friends. It's an algorithm. So if I put in a post, oh my gosh, friends, I have a buyer who's dying to get into Lakewood Village, which is an area, not a city, in my community. That post is now part of the algorithm. And when someone types in the search bar, did you know people use Facebook as a search engine? They do. And they type in Lakewood Village, my post is likely to show up because I specifically said Lakewood Village. Okay. Are you communicating that you're an active realtor, that you've got buyers and you need houses to sell them? I know a lot of you follow the Buffini culture. I know a lot of you follow Brian. Have you ever heard Brian say, create your own inventory? That's what he's talking about. He's talking about don't sit back and wait for a listing to pop up on the MLS. Go try to create a listing opportunity from your network. And there is no better platform to do it from than social media because you already have people's attention. Talk about the other thing that I'm really having a lot of success with is I'm having a lot of success with explaining to our clients and giving them hope. Because here's the number one reason that NAR is discovering people aren't selling their home, because they're scared to death they won't have a home to buy. So are you sharing on social media all the creative ways that you get people into a contingent sale? do you share that you have solutions? But are you coming from the problem and the solution? Are you coming from the, hey friends, it's a crazy real estate market out there. I know we have a lot of sellers who would love to sell their home, but they're scared they don't have somewhere to go. Guess what? I have a proven strategy and solution to ensure that you don't end up homeless, because that's what they're afraid of. Hands down, that's what they're afraid of. Now, might you have to go on the listing appointment and be a little bit more transparent, like I have to be, and be like, okay, so do we have an alternative place to go in between buying and selling? Because that's the real reality in California, right? But I can do it contingent, and there are lots of solutions. As you know, I don't have to train you, I hope, on real estate, but in California, you know, we've got rent backs, although those are really scary in California because you can't kick anybody out of a property right now, right? But there's other solutions that we can find to help you transition into a new home. You need to be communicating, friends. I don't want you to miss out on the best real estate market we've ever seen, with the lowest interest rates we've ever seen, because you're scared you won't find a home, right? We've got solutions for that. So you've got to tell the story, because here's the deal. If they're not calling, this is what most realtors do. They wait for the phone call, which is wonderful. You got a referral. But what if that person never called you because they assumed they couldn't find a house? I guarantee you're going to go on your social media, you're going to tell that story, and guess what? They're going to hear it and go, oh, I totally didn't even know you could do that. I'm going to call Ann. Or Ann is going to say, Billy, my realtor just said that there's a solution for you because you've been complaining about this at work every day. And then guess what? Billy's going to call Krista, who's Ann's realtor. That's how this happens. But if you're not telling the story, if you're not controlling the narrative, you're not going to get these opportunities. One thing I really want you to also focus on when you're communicating on social media is be careful to not scare people out of real estate right now. And I was actually criticized of this by my coach, and he was right. He's like, you know what, Barb, you're doing a great job right now, but be careful how much you're saying this market's insane. This market's crazy. I've never seen this before. It's okay in a small amount, but we also have to be careful that we're not scaring buyers, that we're not scaring sellers, right? Because we can easily, but while we're trying to promote how great we are, right? Barb's number one pet peeve is people posting on social media or doing a mailer or a flyer that says, I just sold 123 Main Street in 27 seconds with 25 offers for $80,000 over list price. Drives me insane, because all you're doing is communicating that we don't have value, that we did nothing to get that listing ready, that we had no skill in the game, and that we don't deserve our commission. Because I am going on appointments where sellers are questioning, well, you know, the market's moving really quickly, you know, so could we trim the commission at all? And then Barb has to go into, that's not what you hire me for. You don't hire me for the speed of the market, right? That's not what you hire me for. So that's a whole nother conversation. I'm sure Carol is all up in your, I don't know if you had that problem in Omaha, but we are having a lot of commission pressures in California. So, when you post, you're probably thinking, how do I communicate all this? Well, you can do it through posting. You can use pretty photos of property and still communicate the same information. Yes, you can create graphics. Canva's a great place for that. Be careful of the information you're putting on the graphics though, right? We talked about that. Make sure it's in words that they can understand. Make sure you're not scaring them, because if I post the average sales price of my community, I am scaring my buyers. I'm scared right now with our average sales price, okay? If I go on social media and say the average sales price in 90815, which is my zip code, is $925, my buyers who are first-time home buyers are going to be like, oh, I'm never buying a home, right? Make sure you're putting out information that's going to give them the opportunity to actually want to reach out to you. Flip side of beyond posting is stories. If you're not using stories, you're missing out. If you're not using stories as a way to communicate all of this information I'm sharing with you, that is my number one place that I'm driving listing inventory. I'm taking everything I just told you, but I'm sharing it on stories in a very human way. People are connecting and relating on stories at the highest level we've ever seen. It's the number one driver of communication on social media. And it's the number one place I'm having conversations with my clients is through the direct messages, through, Instagram and Facebook. More Instagram than Facebook. Stories are much more popular on Instagram. Why? I can stand in front of a listing and I can tell the story of the listing. I can be authentic. People can connect with who I am as a realtor. I can give specific instructions of, hey friends, I just got done showing property in the South Oconant neighborhood. We just saw 3 listings. They all already have 10 offers on it. My client is dying to get a home in the South Oconant neighborhood. Friends that live in South Oconant, if you know anyone who's even hinting about putting their home on the market, call me. Right? That's how you create listing inventory. So that friend of yours that lives in South Oconant that had no idea, who's been living under a rock, who had no idea that the values were the way they were, or prices were the way they were, or the market was moving as quickly as it was, calls you to say, Ann, is that really true? Is your buyer really looking for a $900,000 home in South Oconant? Are our homes really worth that? And then Ann's gonna be like, oh my gosh, yes. Really, Ann? Because, we were thinking about, maybe moving out of state next year. And you can say, well, you know what? I recommend you don't wait till next year. Let's talk about getting you out now and getting you into a rental until you leave. Because we all know this isn't going to last forever. And yes, 2021 is supposed to be great. But I do believe 2022 will be a transition year and 2023 might look a little different. That's my personal opinion. And so I'm starting to have the conversation of clients who are saying, well, I'm going to move next year. Well, I don't know if that's something you possibly want to consider, but I also know this about real estate right now. If you're not building out your pipeline for 6 to 12 to 18 months out, you're missing the boat on creating listing inventory because you're assuming if they don't sell today, they're not in your pipeline. And that's not true. We have a section in our pipeline that says next year because there are people that aren't ready right now. But if I don't put them on my pipeline for next year, I will forget about them. I'm human. So are you putting out the information to give people the opportunity to say, oh my God, I wish I was ready to sell right now. And then you can say, well, why aren't you ready to sell right now? Well, the job's going to be next year, or we're retiring. I'm getting a lot of we're retiring in the next year or two, right? I still have to stay here for another year or two. I still try to explain to them that they may not want to wait the full year or two, but I promise them I will stay in touch. And I promise them I'll keep them updated that at the second I feel like the market might start to be slipping, I'll call you. And they're like, that's perfect, right? Because they're not really ready right now. They're 2 years out. But if in a year I feel like the market's slipping, I think I'm going to call them and I think they're going to trust me if I've stayed in contact. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. The last thing I'm going to say about social media, I mentioned it a little bit before, is just please don't make it look too easy. Okay. As realtors, I believe we're guilty of not telling the full story. And that's why I love stories, because you truly can document your day. You truly can show the behind the scenes of how hard you work. You truly can show all the things that you do to get a listing sold or get a listing closed. Right? It's not just about putting a sign in the yard. It's not just about pretty photos, but that's all you share. You don't share that you personally meet the appraiser to make sure the value comes in. You don't share the inspection situation that you handled or you fixed for your client, or that you're meeting the roofer out there so that you can get the deal done. You don't talk about how you are the hub that controls this entire transaction when the lender drops the ball, or title drops the ball, or in my world, escrow drops the ball. In your world, I don't know if it's an attorney, right? Are you telling the whole story? And the best thing about stories is you can tell that whole story. I always tell people, if people are scared of stories, they don't really understand how it works. They're like, I don't really know how you're getting engagement there. That doesn't make sense to me. The best thing to do, and I will follow all of you back, is follow me on my Instagram. I'm happy to demonstrate by action what I'm doing. And you'll see me do it for all different reasons. Just this morning, I brought on a new agent yesterday. And it was a long story behind it. So I won't even go into the long story, but I had multiple agents message me yesterday and say, do you just pick people to be on your team? Do you call them? What do you do? And I thought it was the weirdest question, but I got it from 3 different agents. So I went on my story today and I'm like, hey friends, I've been getting a lot of questions about how I find agents. Well, guess what? I don't recruit. I don't recruit. Shocker, I build relationships. And the relationship develops over time. And eventually they start asking me questions about how we do what we do, because I do share the behind the scenes of my brokerage. And then before you know it, one of us decides it's a good fit. Now, did I do that because I'm trying to recruit? No. I did it because I'm getting asked enough questions about it that more realtors might want to hear it. And yeah, there might be a realtor out there that's a good fit for me that's going to hear that and go, hey, nice to meet you. Love what you said. Let's continue the conversation, right? There's ways to use stories to communicate all the things that you get asked all the time, but I guarantee you, no one is calling you just to ask one simple question. They're just thinking it. But they don't want to go through the formal listing appointment. They don't want you to come over and bring all the materials and keep them in their chair for 2 hours. And they're like, oh my God, this isn't what I expected. This isn't what I wanted, right? They just want the answer to the one question. So give them an easy platform to share that information that induces them to message you and say, hey, Jennifer, I'm curious about what you just said, or I have a question for you. It works. I do this day in and day out. And then the last thing about creating listing inventory is you have to make sure that you're not just always talking about listings, right? It's important to talk about buyers too, to drive listing inventory. It's important to talk about buying a home so that you can go into a listing appointment and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, on my social media on an average week basis, I get a couple buyers inquiring about buying a home. And one of those buyers might be a perfect fit for your home. So it's super important to talk about both sides of the market. Now, if you're just a listing agent, that's fine. Then don't talk about buyers. But I believe, personal opinion, that you really need to dabble in both to be a great realtor, because you've got to know what's going on both sides of these transactions. That's just my personal opinion. Are you talking about buyers? Are you talking to buyers? Don't just be one-sided. Because what if that seller is going to be a buyer, but they don't think you work with buyers? Do you know how many times that happens to realtors? They're like, but Julie, all you do is talk about listings, so you don't work with buyers. So we went with the other realtor that does both. That's a huge red flag, because agents want listings right now. So even though we're here to talk about how to get listings, and I've given you tons of tips and strategies to do that, conversely, you got to be careful not to just talk about listings. You need to talk about the whole package, everything you do. You know, are you dropping in every once in a while on your marketing platforms that you work with investors? I have to be careful because some people think we don't do condos. I'm like, what? They're like, oh, you just do single family homes. I'm like, oh my God, where did you come up with that? Right? Or areas. That's the last thing I'm going to end with, is make sure you're not just focusing. Now, if you do just focus on one area, then just focus on one area. But I don't think many of you that work relationally just focus on one area. Make sure you're reminding your clients that you've got opportunity all throughout the greater Omaha area. Drop, I don't know what's north and what's south, right? Or what's east and what's west. Make sure you're covering. That's what I do. I'll talk about when I'm on my stories or on my social media, I'll talk about the furthest south I go. I'll talk about the furthest north I go. The west is the ocean, so I don't mention the ocean. I mean, I'm on the ocean, so I think they understand that. And I'll talk about the furthest east I go. Why? I'm creating this barrier, right? Because if I go to San Clemente, which is the furthest south I go, because then you're in San Diego. If I go to San Clemente, then I definitely go to Mission Viejo. Do you get that? If I say I go to Yorba Linda, then I definitely go to Anaheim. Now, you guys have no idea where I'm talking about, but you get what I'm saying, right? I'm creating a geographical perimeter without them even knowing what I'm doing. Then I'll get a phone call of, oh, I didn't know you would do a listing this far out. Well, of course I will. Excuse me. And then the last thing to use social media to drive listings is make sure you aren't afraid to talk about the network that you have across the United States, because you do have clients who are looking to sell and move out of state. And I don't know how you guys deal with relocation. That's something Carol would have to go overarching on me on. But what I do want to say is make sure your clients know that you can help them move out of state, because Sometimes they don't think you can, or they think you don't do relocation. I don't know how you deal with relocation companies, but in my world as an independent broker, I'll let my agents work with any relocation company if they want the god awful fee, right? But I don't want my client selling with someone else just because they think I don't do relocation, right? So if that is something in your brokerage that you can do, don't be afraid to talk about it, because again, people are going to assume you don't do something if you don't tell them. The last thing I want to wrap up with about Facebook and Instagram is it's more about engagement than it is putting stuff out there. I know I talked about a million different ways to put stuff out there, but at the end of the day, social media rewards engagement. All of the algorithms are built on two-way communication. You cannot just do one of two things. You cannot post and ghost. Post and ghost means you put out a great post and then everyone comments and you don't respond to anything. You have to respond to your comments, at least like them, even better, leave a thoughtful comment. Always ask another question, right? If you post something and they're like, wow, this is great information, then ask them another question to try to get them to respond again. If you get DMs or you get Facebook messages, respond. Because the more Facebook and Instagram know you have a relationship with these people, the more likely they are to show your content to them and vice versa. And the second thing I would say is that you have to go looking for reasons to connect and engage on social media. My secret sauce, and the reason people are like, Barb, how can you spend so much time on social media? It's a waste of time, blah, blah. No, it's not. No, it's not, because I am looking for opportunities to connect with my clients. Yes, a lot of you show up on my Facebook page and I do scroll past you. I'm looking for my clients' comments. I found out yesterday that one of my clients' father passed away of COVID. She posted it on social media. It's not a client that I would say is my best friend. So I didn't know. How did I find out? Social media. What do you think I did? Of course, I commented. And then I put a sympathy card in the mail, right? There are so many opportunities to use social media. Your clients are telling you everything you need to know. You're just not listening. And then the last trick I'm going to give you is, and then I'm going to answer questions, is create Facebook friends lists. If you want to make your trip work for you on social media and you want to tell Carol, I'm actually using social media for an hour a day to lead generate, then you need to create a Facebook friends list. I go through it in the boot camp, but do Google it. You can find it. You're all capable of YouTube University. Go create a Facebook friends list that's just your clients. You can only do it on the desktop. You can't do it on your phone. I'm sorry. I wish you could. It's stupid that you can't, but you can only do it on your desktop. And every day for at least 30 minutes, I go to my Facebook client list and I scroll through, because it's only my database. And I interact and engage with every single person on that list. So when people are like, Barb, how do you get so much business from social media? It's because I'm building relationships with the people that matter most. And yes, you realtors, I love y'all. And I do engage with you guys as well. But my main focus for my lead generation time are my clients. And then I can justify that I made 20 outgoing interactions because I went on 20 different clients and engaged with what they were talking about. And 9 out of 10 times, that person was not in my Facebook feed. When you have a friends list, it does not filter it. It does not choose what to show you and what not to show you. And you also learn a lot about your clients, like what to say around them and what not to say around them. In my state of California, you learn a lot. Okay, I'm going to stop talking because we have 16 minutes left. Okay. I know that was a fire hose of information. I apologize if it was too much. I hope it was helpful. Is there any questions?
Okay, guys, just unmute yourself and talk or do something on chat. Either way.
Chris has a question.
Chris.
He's muted though.
Is it better, Barb, to do everything yourself or have an assistant do some of
Great
the
question.
postings?
Great question.
Because it's about engagement.
It is okay for someone else to manage your posting if it's in your voice. So yes, I have a marketing assistant that schedules a lot of our content, but I approve it all. Does that make sense? And she doesn't post anything for me personally. She only posts on our company Facebook and Instagram, right? No, she doesn't go on and engage with clients at all. No. If I'm at a conference or I'm super busy, she does monitor my client list, but she monitors my client list just to tell me if there's anything that happens that I need to know. Hey, so-and-so's having a baby. Okay, great. Send them the baby gift. Hey, so-and-so got engaged. Okay, I'll do a card when I get back. Do you see what I'm saying? Because I will miss those things. So yes, I do have someone monitor things when I'm not present, but I don't have someone post on behalf of me. If you use planners and schedulers, Planoly is the best one. P, I'll put it in the chat. That's how I'm most consistent on social media, and I'm most consistent in posting. And I'm also most consistent at posting at the times that matter because it will auto post for you.
Okay. I do have a question that I want you to talk to. speak
Yes.
about. So the number one thing that comes over with you and everything that you're saying out here is the number one thing that people need to work on. And I know it was hard for me to do it too, is being comfortable with being on video.
Yep.
And you always quote Brian, which I could do too, but I'd rather have you quote it. But I wanted you to give us just a couple of simple ways for people to get past that whole like, oh my God, I look horrible. I'm not dressed right. I'm ugly. I'm sticking out.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Two things. One,
basic things.
yeah, my good friend Marky Lemons always says, you look how you look and you sound how you sound already. So get over it. Right? My agents in my office, I have agents in my brokerage that I manage, and they'll tell me, I can't do video. I don't like the way I sound. I'm like, if a client called you right now to go to coffee, would you? Well, yeah. Do you think you sound any different at coffee than you do on video? No. Okay. They're hearing you when you're having lunch or coffee. What are you afraid of? As far as how you look, get a really good camera. If you can't notice, I have a pretty clear camera. No, I don't have any. I do have a light on my desk. Okay. Go get yourself a ring light. They are like $20. I have the UBZ, there, that one. Get a ring light for your desk. It even has a place to hold your phone in the middle. Okay, so no excuses. A light is fantastic. Yes, I always have a light on. Well, you know what? It's dark in my office. I need a light on, right? But my second most favorite important thing of the world, and the reason you got to be on Instagram and the reason you got to use stories, is how many people know that there's amazing filters on stories. I'm not afraid to admit I have a filter on my face almost every day on stories. It brightens your face, it lightens your face, it makes it a little bit smoother, and you feel a little bit better about yourself.
What's
Now,
your favorite filter?
my favorite filter is Subtle, SUBTLE. It's purple with some little stars. I use it every day. And yeah, some people might see me in person and go, whoa, it's not the same person. I don't care. It makes me feel more comfortable. And so I'll post more. So, and then here's my last piece of advice. My last piece of advice when you start using video or specifically stories, this is what I teach in you're going to get sneak peek of training. When you're doing stories, right? When you're on your story, okay, that's like me. It's, it's facing me. The camera is facing me. Okay. The first time you do a story, flip it around so it's not you. Flip it around so that I'm filming the window right now and talk about the house where it's just your voice. Right? It's not you. It's just your voice. Okay. The next time you do a story, when you get more comfortable, have your assistant sit next to you and do something funny in the office, or your husband or your kids. If you go on my story, you're going to see I torture my daughter all the time on stories. And then eventually you're going to get so comfortable that you'll flip that dang thing around and you'll just talk to yourself. And I know you're like, Barb, this is the stupidest thing ever. It's never going to work. Oh, it does. Oh, it does.
Well, we all need some piece of advice. That helps.
I promise you it works.
That's a good one. It's very authentic.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
Kim,
promise you it works.
Kim,
Well, what if you hate your voice? That's a totally different conversation there.
Go get a voice searcher.
No.
I don't know. Do they exist?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. You got to push through it.
You can fix your appearance. There are doctors for that.
Yeah. Barb, this has been fantastic. Thank you. And I really loved hearing you talk about, not pigeonholing yourself on social media. I've done that. I've pigeoned myself to, I talk all the time about how I decided I was going to become a listing agent. I wanted to become a listing agent. So I walked the talk and I screamed, I'm a listing agent.
Yep.
And within months, I was a listing agent.
Yep.
All my buyers dried up.
Yep.
It's a little bit of balance of being able to.
Yep. Well, and the market will flip, right? There's going to be a day where we need buyers again, where we're like, oh my God, I don't need another listing. Oh my God, no more, don't come, right?
Exactly.
So you'll notice in my stories, I have to promote that I'm a broker like I did today. I also talk about how I speak and train and educate because this is my favorite thing to do. But then I also have to make sure my clients remember I'm a realtor, because what I risk, Tim, similar to what you just said, is that my clients start thinking Barb doesn't sell real estate anymore.
Yeah.
That I've moved into management. And so I have to be careful to talk about my husband and talk about all the other things I'm doing to make sure I'm still driving buyer and seller leads to us.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the show that I've been rewatching again, the Madam Secretary, where the whole show, I mean, she's like got her you know, her fingers on the, you know, the things that are happening in a major way, but then they also relate to her as a mom and her as a wife, and like she's cooking dinner when she gets home, you know, and having dinner with her friend. And in between, she's got this major amount of responsibility, and I don't liken that necessarily to real estate, but the whole theory behind that is really good, because she's a human. Like all of a sudden I see this human there.
Yes. And I love that you said that, because I didn't touch on it because this isn't necessarily a social media class, but my one advice for you on social media, my cardinal rule, my top level, this is how it works, is you have to be authentic and relatable. And part of doing that, people want to work with someone they know, like, and trust. We all know that, right? They don't want you to be a robot realtor. They also want to know something about you. And so my social platforms, I get tenfold engagement over wine, my dogs, my family, torturing my daughter last night I have like 20 messages this morning about torturing her, right? That has nothing to do with real estate.
Exactly.
But because they all engaged with that last night, this morning, when I talk about real estate, they're going to hear it, because Instagram's going to show them the real estate content, because last night they engaged with the Barb's, you know, torturing her daughter again content. And when I say torturing her, I mean putting her on my story, because she can't stand it. So she always, it's become a joke. Yeah, it's become a joke.
But I run into people that will say, oh my God, I love that song that your son was singing, or, you know, or wow, I just saw that your kids moved to Portugal, or something.
Yep,
At the same
absolutely.
time, they also see me as as their connector, as their realtor, and that's why I think people just need to be more planned, authentic.
Yes, planned, authentic. I love that. At the end of the day, friends, it's the 80-20 rule, but it should be 80% you, 20% real estate.
Yep.
If your social platform is 80% who you are as a mom, a wife, a husband, a spouse, a cousin, a significant other, a friend, and 20% is you as a realtor, and 80% is what you like to do in your spare time, where you like to go, what you like to eat, and 20% is real estate, you will absolutely see your relationships expand. They will go deeper. You will learn things about your clients that you never knew that you had in common. So when you run into them at the grocery store, you know something about their life, instead of just, hey, how are you? How's it going? You're like, oh my God, Anne, I can't believe your dog, blah, 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 blah. Right? Like, that's a connection point. And then 9 out of 10 times they're going to say, hey, Carol, how's business? And then that's when you get the opportunity to talk like a realtor, right? But it starts with the connection of something else.
And you pay attention, because now you have something that you have like-mindedness. Yeah. And wine, absolutely. You got 80% of the world.
Hey, you know what? I never would have thought in a million years. I'm doing dry January just to prove to myself I can do it. And also to, like, how much extra weight am I carrying around because of wine? Just full disclosure, because I'm not afraid to share. I can't believe how many friends and clients I've connected with because of dry January.
Yeah.
Like, I've created this little mini community of all my friends. I have 21 friends locally that are doing it with me. Okay.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with real estate.
Right.
But because we're so connected now, they're hearing all the little real estate stuff that also is going on in my life, and it will pay off. I love this piece of it. And if you guys get nothing from this except that, like, drop your arms, drop your shoulders, just be who you are. And if you don't like what that looks like, then I suggest maybe you go back and do a little personal growth work. Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Because this is not I'm going to learn how to be this incredible person on Facebook and on Instagram. And I mean, I'm going to take the incredible person, relate,
Right.
actually take responsibility for it and share it in a way that can be helpful and build your business. Recently I told one of my coaching clients that who's like, oh my God, 24/7, how can I not do this? I said, you have to keep in mind that you are right now in the process of building your legacy. Don't think about what's in the future. Think about what you are going to be responsible for in the past. And
Mhm.
if you did this success in business at the cost of your family, or at the cost of your health, that's not what you want in your legacy. So
Mm-mm.
I just think we're all enough. And
Mhm.
each one of us probably thinks that of each other.
Yeah.
So I love everything you said. Anybody have any final words? I know Barb's got to get out of here in 3 minutes, but a final question.
I have a super quick one.
Hi,
Thank you.
Max.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
Thank
good.
you,
How are
Barb.
you?
Thank you, Carol / mom. Really quick. I'm curious about how, if you have multiple Facebook page, or personal business, you have Instagram, Twitter, like all of this stuff, how, if you come up with a single post,
Mhm.
how would you recommend not overwhelming people who follow you on all
Right.
the same
Great
platform?
question. Is you don't have to post in the moment, right? You don't have to post the same thing on the same day. It's called repurposing content. And it is something that it's good to have an assistant to do, right? So we don't post the same thing on Instagram and Facebook on the same day unless it's a holiday related thing, right? And sometimes it's different, right? Sometimes things are more built for Instagram than they are for Facebook, right? On a Facebook business page, I wouldn't put a bunch of, happy holiday graphics. It's just not what it's about, right? But on Instagram, it is very much what it's about. So it is about not putting the same information in all the same places in the same way every single day. There
Thank
is
you.
a good reason to mix it up. Facebook, I like to put more listings and link more articles than necessarily graphics, but Instagram's all graphics, right? So on your personal profile, though, that's the other thing. I don't put the exact same thing on Instagram that I do put on Facebook. It does take some management, but that's why I encourage you to use Planoly, because Planoly, you can pick and choose. It does auto post to Facebook and Instagram, so you can pick and choose what goes where on what day, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Right. I mean, there's no easier way to lose followers than overwhelming them with.
Right. Well, that's
Right.
why I say 80% personal, 20% business.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's good advice. Thank you. I really like
Yeah.
that.
You're
I
welcome.
like that a
Yeah.
lot. Okay, so I know you got it.
Yes, and I just want to say I did drop the link in the chat if anyone wants to join the Social Agent Bootcamp, just because people normally have, just like you all, have tons of questions about how to do everything and what to post, and we go into all kinds of things. It's in there. Carol, thank you so much for having me today. It was a pleasure seeing all of your faces. I am gonna end. If you guys want to wrap up, go ahead, but I'm running to another Zoom.
Thanks, Barb.
You're very welcome. Bye, guys.
Okay,
Bye.
yeah, that's it. Anybody else have any questions or comments, or how was that? Fire hose?
Thanks for meeting early, everybody. It was worth
Yeah.
meeting an hour early just so we could get her. So
Yes, it was. And thank you for everybody that showed up. And honestly, I encourage you to take her class if you really want good information. It takes 5 or 6 weeks. And I think it's $100 or something. I don't know. It's not very much, but you'll get more information than you ever thought you could. So anyway, thanks so much. I will talk to you all later, and thanks for showing up.
see
Okay.
everybody.
Bye, Ann.